Privacy is not just a privilege, it's a fundamental part of growing up, especially for teenagers seeking to discover their identity and independence. For parents and educators, the challenge lies in respecting their need for privacy while ensuring their safety and guiding them towards responsible behavior. Today, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Priti Ojha, Principal of SID MR Jaipuria School, Bhiwadi. Dr. Ojha's progressive approach to education and deep understanding of adolescent development makes her an ideal voice to discuss the delicate balance between monitoring and trust in respecting teen privacy. Welcome, ma'am, to Parenting Summit 2024.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saju.
Great. Ma'am, before we start, I would request if you can briefly introduce yourself so that our viewers can know a little bit more about you.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Priti Ojha, and I'm working in St. MR Jaipuria School, Bhiwadi as the principal. I'm glad to share this that I have been into education for the past 2.5 decades. And my journey as an educationist has been very interesting because I have been into all the stages and phases of teacher's life, starting from primary to senior teacher. And I think that brings a lot of insight inside educationists to understand all the age levels and the transition a child is going through. And that has brought a lot of insight in me by understanding what is going to happen at a particular age with the exposure that we are giving to our children. That helps me a lot to understand my child and my
Mhm.
parent together. Thank you.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. So, ma'am, let's start with, a question which I'm sure everybody's got, that why is respecting teen privacy essential for their emotional and, social development?
Very interesting question because whenever a child is growing or coming to a teenager stage, it is usually expected now they'll open up more and they're going to be conversing on their own, they're going to become independent. All that is said and done at a particular age, but how does it start? Is from the opening up of the emotional and social development of the child. They
Mhm,
really need at a very early stage of their teenager to start building trust with the
mhm.
adults. Until they will
Right.
not trust you, they wouldn't open up. And that is what is essential because once they start feeling that they're being trusted, they start feeling responsible. That is what the mistake usually we do. Until they don't become responsible, we can't trust them. But it's the other way around. You have to
Yes.
make them trusted, and then they will understand they are becoming responsible and independent in what they're doing. It
Right.
encourages them to have an open communication because that
Hmm.
will help them a lot. And this open communication is a very tricky thing for parents as well as any adult around them, because usually what happens with our own experience, we start judging or interrupting them when they're communicating, wherein you need to keep it absolutely non-judgmental communication in front of them. Even the facial expression shouldn't give them a hint to stop. That is how
Hmm.
sensitive the teenage communication is. And
Right.
once they start feeling that they're being not judged, the conversation takes little more unfolding states. They start solving the problem of they might be going through on their own just by
Hmm.
communicating. And this brings a
Right.
lot of confidence in them. And
Right.
somewhere down the line, these individual approaches, when an
Hmm.
adult starts communicating with the child, it helps them in their emotional development and well-being.
Right.
They're
Right.
emotionally healthy now to be
Hmm.
spoken to as well as to discuss any query or any situation which they want to resolve.
Hmm. Right. Very important. I mean, if you ask me, one thing to pick from this, that would be that one line which you said that, you have to trust first. You don't expect them to be responsible first, then you start trusting. It's like, a catch-22 situation. We as an adult, we as a parent, educators, we need to take the lead because we are
Absolutely.
adults,
Absolutely.
compared to
Absolutely.
teens, and we take the lead and give them that trust, that open communication where then they can start opening up.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
very, very important point, ma'am. So, ma'am, in your experience, what are the signs that parents or educators might be overstepping, boundaries when it comes to monitoring teens?
Mhm. The first sign that I've seen usually when children feel that they are their boundaries are being overstepped is they start withdrawing. They don't talk to
Mm-hmm.
you much. They try to
Mm-hmm.
isolate themselves. They don't want to be publicly available at most of the places because what next question? They don't want that to happen.
Right.
I
Right.
have also seen that frequent conflicts
Mm-hmm.
is found among teenagers or adults on issues which can be easily avoided and
Mm-hmm.
the matters which don't matter much. So I
Okay.
see there also conflicts coming up. I
Mm-hmm.
also see that maybe they are around there, maybe they are in the same room, maybe they are in the same surrounding, but their communication will be very low. They wouldn't be talking. There wouldn't be any kind of communication. They'll be more glued into their digital world and they may not be able to talk. They may not try to converse with anyone around them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I also see some of the teens under anxiety. A question even asked 2 to 3 times, they may feel exhausted answering it. They may not want to answer. They may be seen with stress signs. They may be seen overeating, obesity, and
Mm-hmm.
somewhere they're losing the trust with the adults and the educators around them. And mostly, I've seen that. Um, Teens come and talk to us during the school counseling also that they feel being very controlled, and once
Mm-hmm.
you start controlling the child's freedom for which they were always, the freedom was always given to them, but as and when they're growing, that freedom is not given to them to the extent they expect, and
Mm-hmm.
so they feel very controlled and the freedom is lost. So these are some of the
Right.
signs that they communicate, they show, they demonstrate, and they respond with, which
Mm-hmm.
makes an adult realize that somewhere we're overstepping the boundaries.
Okay, that's very interesting point. Ma'am, if you talk about how does your school promote trust and open communication with students while maintaining a secure and respectful environment?
We have very strong counselors and we have teachers who are being counseled. We make
Mm-hmm.
sure that there is a small and larger group of communication with the
Mm-hmm.
children. We make
Okay.
sure that their privacy can be managed by not speaking everything if they want in front of rest of the other peer
Mm-hmm.
members, but they can write and speak with the counselor, with the teacher. We have a
Mm-hmm.
nodal officer who takes care of any such thing which the child cannot speak to anyone. They directly go to the nodal officer to speak to them. We make
Okay.
sure that we have policies for children, and those policies also made by some of the children as a school community. And
Mm-hmm.
this gives them a space of
Mm-hmm.
safety and
Mm-hmm.
confidence that they can come and talk. And the most important thing that we counsel our teachers is that always let the child know that you may be asking or seeking help from us, but
Mm-hmm.
we want to let you know that we are a team with the school.
Okay.
And we
Mm-hmm.
have to talk about it to senior people who can resolve it, as well as
Mm-hmm.
we will talk in such a way to your parents that it will be felt as a need to resolve rather than
Okay.
a need to be, brought into a different conflict or get you distracted with what you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to address. So these are some
Right.
of the things that we make sure the child is confident about when they're talking to an adult,
Mm-hmm.
especially a teacher or the nodal officer. So
Mm-hmm.
these things help us a lot in the school. We have a lot of orientation for parents also,
Mm-hmm.
where we let them know that as and when the child is growing, you're also supposed to evolve as a parent and grow out of those structures which confine you with conditional parenting, and try
Mm-hmm.
to understand that parenting is not something for which you will get graduated from a university. It's a unique process which with every child is going to be unique, because we
Yes.
always say we have unique children and so we have unique adults. So each
Mm-hmm.
one of us has different ways of handling a situation, and we can't
Mm-hmm.
copy paste it for every family. So this is
Right.
something that we keep repeating in our
Mm-hmm.
programs, in our
Program.
orientations, in our interactions, in our
Mm-hmm.
PTMs, in our anecdotal records, so that
Okay.
parents are well informed about the progress or requirements support
Mm-hmm.
that a parent needs to
Wonderful.
support the school with.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, ma'am, if we talk about some, help to or some tips for parents, so how can parents strike a balance between, monitoring their teens' activity and
Hmm.
giving them the freedom to make independent choices?
So I think first is to focus upon being very honest with children. Children are
Hmm.
very, very smart to sense honesty of an
Yes.
adult or a
Yes.
child.
Hmm.
And to become honest, one has to have a very open conversation with children. And
Hmm.
as I am repeating it again, it should be non judgmental. It should not
Hmm.
have information like, I would have done this, or
Right.
I never did it, or this
Hmm.
is right, this is wrong, you should
Hmm.
not have, you should have asked me. So these kind of conflicting communication starts only when you suddenly start interfering into the open conversation. It has to
Okay.
start and has to be planned from the side
Hmm.
of the parents to to initiate it from a stage where uh, where there is an opportunity of open conversation on different phases of their life without any hesitation. It can't start in grade 10. It has to start from grade 1. It has to start,
Right.
if not done at 1, at least in 5th. And it
Hmm.
can't be immediately effective. So that is something very, very important that each,
Patience need to be there with parents, right?
absolutely. And whenever we have a communication, we forget to make boundaries, ground
Hmm.
rules, clear,
Hmm.
clear instructions, rules, family rules, so that
Hmm.
it can't be something suddenly you tell publicly to a child. Their
Right.
identity, their self confidence breaks because it is at a
Hmm.
very amateur stage of life and they're still
Mm.
building on that identity of theirs. So if it is
Right.
demolished by even half a sentence publicly in front of adults,
Hmm.
they may feel not comfortable. So lot of things are supposed to be done at the background. Whenever you're
Hmm.
sitting on a dining table after your dinner, before your dinner, please make sure let's have some family ground rules. Let us
Hmm.
all discuss our mutual respect that we need to do
Right.
with each other. And
Right.
most important is that make sure that there is a pattern which has to be observed in the children. So a very
Okay.
keen interest of parent has to
Hmm.
be there when their teenage child is around them to see what are the changes that they're seeing in their child. And these changes are very normal. But it's only
Hmm.
that if you start finding them disturbing to the child, then
Hmm.
there is a open conversation to take place.
Hmm.
There is also a need of decision making capacity to be
Hmm.
oriented among children. I have seen
Right.
recently children asking their parents what they need to wear when they go
Okay.
out, when they're 17 and 18 years old. It
Hmm.
has to be made very clear from a very young age to decide their clothing. You know, when
Hmm.
you go out anywhere, you may not realize it's cold outside. But
Hmm.
until you go out, you feel the weather. When you come inside, you prefer which jacket to pick up and wear. Whereas
Right.
if you keep telling children what to wear, when to wear, how to wear, the decision making capacity wouldn't come, and that independent learning of life
Hmm.
wouldn't be
Hmm.
there. So these are very
Right.
small examples that I'm taking. There are bigger examples
Hmm.
for which you will prepare them, starting from
Right.
these small examples. And
Right. So this is very, very important point which you have
yeah,
mentioned. Not that other points are not important, but this is
yeah,
for me very important that, setting that family, rule or, home rules or, a family rule is very important. And you don't have to wait for a incident to happen or something to
exactly.
happen to work on it. It could
Yes,
be as gradually, because as you rightly said, result is not something visible overnight. You have to
yes,
be patient. You have to repeat yourself multiple times to get into that a stage where it has been understood and accepted by everyone, right? Very
sure.
important point, man, that it has to be a process. It can't be a
Yes,
one time kind of a
yes, yes,
activity. Yes,
yes.
yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes, that is beautiful, ma'am. So ma'am, just one more question just to understand that can you guide us some practical steps that parents can take to, build trust while ensuring their teens' safety and well-being? I mean, because for parents also it's something new.
Yeah.
It's not that every parent has gone through it. So they are also seeing it for the first time or maybe experiencing it. So how can they build this trust, keeping their teens safe?
I feel that people usually underestimate what I'm trying to say is, but quality time is essential. And
Very
quality
important.
time is essential at today's stage. Why? Because all of us are busy and everybody has priorities of doing things in life. But
Hmm.
the child needs their time for which they might be waiting for you to come and sit with
Hmm.
them and talk to them. They may not
Hmm.
every time tell you when they want to sit,
Yes,
but then
yes,
you
very
have to
important.
base that
Hmm.
quality time. I think a regular discussion on values of your
Hmm.
family, expectations of a few things in life, which are something that we each one of us should decide among
Hmm.
ourselves in the family, and
Right.
certain rules which
Hmm.
cannot be declined. And
Hmm.
what if there is a breach of conduct? Then what are the things that one has to take care of is also essential. So children should know that if there is a breach of conduct, there
Hmm.
might be some steps which will be taken, which is already mutually decided. First time this,
Yes.
second time this, third time this, fourth time
Hmm.
this. And I
Right.
think they should be encouraged to take challenges and
Hmm.
allowed to fall so that they listen to what they experience rather
Right.
than they listen to what you're telling them. And we
Hmm.
have to, as a parent, also learn that overreacting will not be fruitful. So let
Right.
the child know that challenges are worth taking and
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
experience they're getting around it.
Right. Right.
The thing that we usually forget,
Hmm.
Shajuji, is that the parents' behavior and their modeling and demonstrating in front of their child, which they usually don't realize. Usually, we are so busy with our own body language, talk, communication, punctuality, and the way we are completing a task that we don't realize our child is observing us. And that
Very true.
observation may not be instantly on a particular day, it must be something which is going on for months. So, I think
Hmm.
in those situations, one has to
Hmm.
realize that you have to be what you want your child to become. So that's
Hmm.
essential. And
Right.
we have to let the children know the risk and the benefit of technology, because
Right.
that's one window where child can go and travel a long way without
Hmm.
without any parent or any adult knowing about it. So your
Right.
communication, which I said is important, will help you to let you know where your child is moving in the digital world, because that's
Right.
essential. And
Right.
this is how one can guide and support their child. This is how much you
Wow.
can do, and that's important.
Yes. Wonderful, man. Wonderful. Thanks a
Thank you
lot,
so much.
ma'am, for sharing your expertise on such an important and sensitive topic. Your
Thank
insights highlight the need for a nuanced approach to parenting and teaching. Uh, you know, One that respects individuality while fostering accountability and trust.
you. Yes.
To our audience, today's conversation is a reminder that trust is a foundation of any strong relationship, especially with
Mhm.
teens. By
Yes,
respecting their privacy, we are not, you know, we not only validate their growing sense of self, but also, pave the way for open dialogue and mutual respect. As we
absolutely.
continue to explore topics that strengthen the parenting bond, let's remember the power of trust, communication, and understanding. See you at the next session on Parenting Summit 2024. Thank you, ma'am, once again for the
Thank
lovely
you.
insight and important insight which you have shared. And I'm sure our listeners and our parents will definitely benefit out of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.